Welcome back to the channel. Have you ever assumed that if something comes in a pill bottle it must be automatically safe, simply because a professional once prescribed it? And have you ever wondered why two people can take the same medicine, yet one feels fine, while the other slowly becomes weaker without noticing until something serious happens? Tonight I want to tell you a story about caution, compassion, and clear seeing. This is not a story that tells you to fear medicine. Medicine can be life-saving. This is also not a story that tells you to stop any medication. Never stop a prescribed medication without talking to a qualified clinician. This is a story about karma as cause and effect, the way small choices compound, especially when the body is older and more sensitive. It is a story about wisdom, the ability to ask the right questions before consequences arrive. And it is a story about compassion, because the people most at risk are often the people who least want to be a burden, the ones who quietly endure side effects rather than speak up. Our story begins with an elderly man named Walter. Walter is 78. He has a gentle stubbornness, the kind that made him dependable his whole life. He worked for decades, raised a family, and learned to solve problems without complaining. When he retired, he told himself he would finally rest. But aging has a strange way of giving you new responsibilities. Not responsibilities to a job, but responsibilities to your own body. Walter does not think of himself as fragile. He still carries groceries. He still insists on doing small repairs. He still says he is fine even when he is tired. His family has learned to hear the difference between his words and his body, but they cannot watch him every hour. And Walter, like many elders, is proud. Pride is not always arrogance. Sometimes pride is fear of being seen as weak. Over the years, Walter collects prescriptions the way many people collect keys. One for blood pressure, one for pain, one for sleep, one for heart rhythm, one for mood, one for stomach, a few vitamins, a few over-the-counter products suggested by friends, a herbal capsule someone swore by. None of this feels dramatic. In fact, it feels normal. Most of the pills are small. Most of them come with calm labels. Most of them are taken with breakfast like part of a routine. This is how risk often enters, not with a loud warning, but with normality. Walter has a primary doctor who means well. The doctor is busy, like many are. The clinic is full. Appointments are short. The doctor sees the numbers, adjusts a dose, and moves on. Each specialist Walter sees focuses on one piece of the puzzle, like a mechanic focusing only on one tire, one brake, one light. But the body is not a collection of separate parts. It is one system. When you add pill after pill, the interactions can become the hidden story. Walter does not read the leaflets in the box. The print is small and the language is complicated. Even if he tried, he would likely feel overwhelmed. He trusts. And trust is beautiful, but trust without questions can become danger, especially when the person is older and metabolism is different. Then, small symptoms appear. Walter begins feeling dizzy when he stands. He blames age. He begins feeling a little more tired in the afternoon. He blames age. He has a few moments of confusion, like walking into a room and forgetting why. He blames age. He has bruises on his arms from bumping into furniture. He blames clumsiness. He has heart fluttering sometimes. He blames stress. None of these symptoms are loud enough to scare him into action. They are just annoying enough to make him grumpy. One evening, Walter goes to the kitchen to get water. He stands too fast. The room spins. He grabs the counter. He does not fall, but his chest tightens and fear flashes through his body. Fear in an elder is powerful because it brings a wave of vulnerability. For a moment, Walter is not the man who fixed everything. He is simply a human being in a body that can fail. He sits down and breathes. The episode passes. Walter tells nobody, not because he wants to lie, but because he does not want his family to worry. This is where compassion becomes urgent. Many elders hide symptoms out of love, but hiding symptoms can increase risk. A week later, Walter has another episode. This time, his daughter Lena is visiting. She hears a small sound in the kitchen and finds him sitting pale, holding his chest with one hand in the chair with the other. Lena does not panic outwardly, but inside, she feels the sharp fear of losing someone. She insists on taking him to be checked. At the clinic, the first conversation is frustrating. Walter minimizes. He says he is fine. Lena describes the episodes. The nurse takes vitals. The numbers look acceptable. The doctor suggests it might be dehydration, stress, or a momentary issue. But Lena has a friend named Priya, a cardiology nurse who has seen too many preventable emergencies. Priya once told Lena a sentence that stuck. When an older person suddenly changes, do not assume it is just age. Look at the medication list like it is a map. So Lena asks Walter for every bottle. Walter resists. He says it is unnecessary. Lena stays calm. She says, I am not judging. I just want to understand what your body is dealing with. They lay the bottles on the table. It looks like more than Walter realized. That is another strange thing about pills. When taken one by one, they feel small. When placed together, they reveal the full load. Lena takes photos of the labels and books a longer appointment with a clinician known for careful medication reviews. Walter is annoyed. He says Lena is overreacting, but he agrees, partly because he loves her, partly because the kitchen episodes scared him more than he wants to admit. At the medication review, a different kind of conversation begins. The clinician is not rushed. The clinician asks questions that do not sound like judgment. They sound like curiosity and care. What time do you take each pill? Who prescribed it? Why was it started? Has the dose changed? Did anything new begin before the dizziness started? Do you take any over-the-counter pain medicine? Do you use any sleep aids? Any cold medicines lately? Any herbal products? Walter answers. And as he answers, he starts noticing the hidden story. A pain medicine he takes most days for his knee. A sleep pill he takes when he feels anxious. An over-the-counter product he uses for allergies. A stomach pill that started after the pain medicine began irritating him. A second blood pressure pill added because the first seemed insufficient at one appointment. Eye water pill prescribed months ago that he sometimes takes twice because he thinks it helps swelling. The clinician explains something that feels both obvious and surprising. In older adults, certain medicines can increase risk not only by their direct effect, but by the side effects they create, like low blood pressure, dehydration, bleeding risk, sedation, confusion, and interactions that stress the heart and brain. The risk is not that medicine is evil. The risk is that the combination and the dose may no longer match the body of today. The clinician does not say 5 pills are always bad. They explain categories of common risk in elders. In plain language, medicines that can lower blood pressure too much can cause dizziness and falls. Medicines that thin blood or affect clotting can increase bleeding risk, especially if combined. Certain pain medicines can increase blood pressure, fluid retention, and strain in some people. Sedating medicines for sleep or anxiety can increase confusion, falls, and breathing issues. Some decongestants and stimulatory products can raise heart rate and blood pressure. Certain drug interactions can affect heart rhythm. The clinician repeats a key point. The right medicine for one person can be the wrong medicine for another. And what was safe at age 50 can be risky at 78. Walter listens. He feels two emotions at once: relief that there is an explanation, and shame that he did not pay attention. Shame is common in elders because they fear being treated like children. This is where compassion matters. The clinician meets his shame with respect. They say, "This happens to many people. It is not your fault. The system is complex. The important thing is what we do next." What they do next is careful, gradual, and wise. They do not stop everything. They prioritize. They adjust one thing at a time. They coordinate with the prescribing doctors. They consider non-drug options for sleep and pain. They create a plan and write it clearly, with times and reasons. They also instruct Walter and Lena on red flags that require urgent care. Over the next month, Walter's dizziness improves. His afternoons feel less foggy. He sleeps slightly better with better routines rather than heavy sedation. His knee pain is still there, but managed with safer strategies and fewer risky combinations. Most importantly, Walter feels like someone finally looked at him as a whole system, not a list of problems. Now the story could end here as a medical success story, but I want to take it deeper. Because the real lesson is not only about pills. The real lesson is about how people relate to their own bodies, especially when aging invites vulnerability. Walter confesses something to Lena during a quiet evening. He says he did not tell anyone about the first episode because he did not want to be a burden. Lena replies with a sentence that becomes the heart of this story. She says, "Hiding is not protecting me. Hiding is protecting your pride." Walter is silent because he knows it is true. This is karma, not mystical lightning, but cause and effect. When you practice hiding, you create delayed care. When you delay care, risk increases. When risk increases, emergencies become more likely. Pride feels like strength, but pride can create danger when it blocks honesty. Wisdom is seeing that pattern and changing it. After the medication review, Walter begins practicing a new habit. He speaks up sooner. If he feels dizzy, he tells Lena. If he feels a new symptom, he writes it down. If he starts a new over-the-counter medicine, he tells the clinician. These actions are not dramatic, but they are life-shaping. And Lena learns her own lesson too. She realizes compassion is not only comforting. Compassion sometimes means insisting. It means asking hard questions kindly. It means making the appointment even when someone resists. It means respecting autonomy while still protecting safety. This is compassion plus wisdom. Compassion without wisdom becomes passive. Wisdom without compassion becomes cold. Together, they become care. Now, there is another character in the story, because families are rarely only two people. Walter has a neighbor named Miguel, also elderly, also proud. Miguel hears about Walter's dizziness and says, "It is just age. Everyone gets dizzy. Drink more water." Walter, now wiser, does not argue. He invites Miguel for tea and tells him what he learned. He says, "I thought the same, but it was my medicine mix. I did not even realize what I was taking. Maybe you should check yours too." Miguel shrugs, but a week later, he quietly asks his granddaughter to help list his medications. They find duplicates, old prescriptions never stopped, and a sedative he takes more often than he admitted. Miguel gets his own review. He avoids a fall later that year. Nobody calls it destiny. but it is destiny. It is the destiny created by one honest conversation. This is how karma spreads in a good way. One person learns and shares. The knowledge becomes compassion. The compassion becomes action. The action reduces suffering. Now I want to speak directly to you, because you might not be elderly, and you might be thinking this story is not for you. But wisdom is not only for your current age. Wisdom is something you carry forward. And if you have elders in your family, this story might matter right now. Here are the deeper takeaways, held in story language rather than lectures. Do not worship labels. Prescription does not mean risk-free. Do not assume symptoms are only age. Do not assume more is better. Do not mix over-the-counter products casually, especially in elders. Do not hide symptoms out of pride. Do not be afraid to ask for a medication review, especially when there are many pills. Do not change or stop prescribed medicines without professional guidance. This is practical wisdom. It is also compassion, because asking questions protects life. There is also a spiritual layer that many people miss. The body is impermanent. Everyone learns this eventually. The question is whether you learn it with panic or with clarity. When Walter faced his vulnerability honestly, he did not become weaker. He became wiser. Wisdom does not erase aging, but it makes aging less dangerous. And compassion does not erase risk, but it creates support so risk is not faced alone. Now let us return to the heart of the title. The idea of 5 pills that increase risk. In real life, it is rarely about exactly 5 specific pills that are always dangerous for everyone. It is about classes of medication and combinations, about individual health conditions, about dosing, and about the reality that older bodies process drugs differently. That is why the most important action is not memorizing a list from the internet. The most important action is reviewing a personal medication list with a qualified clinician. That is the wise path. Walter learned to trade pride for clarity. Lena learned to trade fear for steady action. Miguel learned to trade dismissal for curiosity. These trades are awakening. Awakening is not only meditation. Awakening is the moment you stop pretending you are invincible and start practicing care. As we close, I want to offer you a reflection that might stay with you. Many tragedies are not caused by one huge mistake. They are caused by small neglect repeated. Small neglect is karma too. But the good news is that small care repeated is also karma. Small care can change the direction of a whole year. If you have someone older in your life, consider having a gentle conversation. Ask what they take. Ask if they have had any dizziness, confusion, falls, or new symptoms. Offer to help list medicines, including over-the-counter and supplements. Offer to attend an appointment. Do it with respect, not control. Respect plus care is the strongest form of love. I would love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever seen an elder hide symptoms because they did not want to be a burden? Have you ever experienced a time when a simple review or question prevented a bigger problem? What did that teach you about wisdom and compassion? If you want to support this channel, please subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment so these stories can reach more people who need practical calm guidance in a complicated world. Closing words for tonight. May you cultivate wisdom that asks good questions. May you practice compassion that protects without shaming. May your choices create good karma through careful attention. And may your destiny and the destiny of those you love become safer and lighter through honest care.